Welcome to the Dr. DJ podcast, sponsored by LGBG. I'm your host, Dr. Macaulay, and I'm here with another amazing guest. I won't say auntie, Love Babz, that does the Love Talk on 103.5 WNHH 103.5. I did that well every time.
Yeah.
103.5. And just recognizing you for all the things that you've done for the community, being a social media strategist, for me, being a mentor, and putting the words in the right place at times that I don't know how to put it in the right place. But I'll give you opportunity to let the audience know all the things that you do well and all the people that you're touching.
All right. Hey, this is great. It's nice to sit here and be with you. You know, I run the Inner City newspaper. I've been running the Inner City newspaper for, forever. We're about
Editor-in-chief, you got to get
editor-in-chief of the Inner City newspaper. We're about 35, almost 40 years old. Black-owned paper in New Haven, and we're still going. We're still putting out a paper every week. You know, and then I do live radio 2 hours a day, every day, Monday through Friday. Doing this, talking to people like you talking to people.
So what are some of the other things? And so you do a lot of other things besides that. So we know that we have the spiritual director.
Yeah.
So I want you to give all the hats. All the hats.
Well, being a spiritual director, it is like just walking with people on their faith journey. You know, I don't tell people what God is. I just listen to people talk about what God is for them and just walk with them on their journey as they discover and notice where God shows up in their life or whatever the God, creator, Allah, whatever. And sometimes people just need places to go where they can have these deep conversations about their faith that you can't normally have in like a bar.
It's too loud.
Or church, because people think church is where you have these deep conversations, but they're not. So you have to provide spaces for people to have these deep and abiding conversations about their faith and the questions that they have of their faith and where they are in their faith. I serve on a lot of boards in New Haven. I have been doing that for many, many years. So I serve on the Long Wharf Theater Board, Planned Parenthood Board. I chair the Arts Council Board, the Gwinnett Food Forest Board. I mean, there's a couple of civic engagement things.
So I bring that up and kind of let you tell all your hats. For those that have been watching and following us as committed subscribers and members, we've started this process for the Dr. DJ podcast around process. Understanding how to process through life, process through passions, balancing success and opportunity. And even know that this topic came up after a conversation with our editor. You said this to me 3 years ago, around the same time when we were at Miss Aunt Ife's vision board session before New Year's.
Oh yeah, we do that every year.
And I came in the house and we was talking and I was on the couch in a moment and you told me what I needed to do. And so today's session, so when the topic came up, you came to mind. I was like, let me see if you have time. We're able to schedule the time and long story short, what you said to me, which connects to everything that we're doing, and also symbolic of just how folks kind of enter the new year. You told me to chase myself, make a commitment to spend time with you, but also chase those possibilities. Mm-hmm. And so today we are here for this deep dialogue about like, how does one approach that topic of just like chasing oneself?
It requires some deep truth telling. It starts with truth telling. It starts with saying whatever I'm doing now isn't working for me. All the relationships, all the things that I'm in are not giving me satisfaction, joy. They're not. They're more a chore and a labor than joy and abundance. And I think people think that the grind and hustle mentality is the stitch. It isn't. It's those things that you get after that's really the joy, but people don't spend the time doing that. And they think everything outside of themselves is the gift. It's not. I go to church. That's not the gift. Or I believe that's not the gift either. What is internal? Are you peaceful? And can you be peaceful in chaos? People are like, oh, I have to get away. Well, everywhere you go, there you are. So what are you actually getting away? You can remove chaos from your life and never leave the country or never leave your neighborhood or never leave, your job. You can remove chaos. People think it's everything external that they think everything external drives them, and they have no peace. So they're always in chaos. They're always unhappy. Things failing. Always. Oh, another failed relationship. Because you're looking for somebody to pour into you that you yourself are not willing to pour into yourself. So that's what I mean. Chase yourself. Get to know yourself. Spend time with yourself. Go to a restaurant by yourself. Go to the movies by yourself. Sleep by yourself. Do things by yourself for a period of time so that you become the best version of yourself. So when someone shows up, or whatever shows up, be it someone or something, you're ready.
I'm smiling because when you started this and you set the stage, because I'm so great with the metaphors, and I'm still thinking about my daughter has a orange that's still sitting on the counter, and she gets so excited about unraveling it. I'm just tearing into it, which I'm sure there's no social feelings for an orange, but the fruits of the work though.
Yeah.
Like finding that place of peace in the process. We've dialogued about uncovering how do we become the best person. Mm-hmm. And even though today we're talking about like chasing or being at a process when we can chase ourselves, chase our potential, there's a larger story told before we decide to commit ourselves, and why. And it's more so it's a choice. Like, I don't think folks wake up with this idea of really chasing themselves. There's a story told before. And so, like, kind of speak to that analogy of just like what happens before someone just like has a self-discovery.
I think what happens is you have this melancholy and you have this feeling like there's something more that I should be doing, that I want, but it's not that superficial I want thing. Like you'll start with, oh, I know, I want that watch, right? Or I want those sneakers, because you think it's that. You think, oh, if I could just buy those sneakers, if I could just get that car, if I could just do those, and then you get those things and you're like, that's not quite it either. I thought it was gonna give me something, but it only gave me a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
No, I do. So when you said it, the first thing I thought about is that when someone makes that choice to, not that they're chasing the watch, but they want the watch.
Yeah.
And I would argue saying that they see themselves in the watch.
They probably do.
They see themselves in the
They
shoe.
see themselves in the watch, and that somehow or other the watch becomes this mythical thing that's going to what? Transform your life? It could.
I think that's the part that I've loved dissecting, where there's an idea that someone has about themselves that the acquisition or accumulating these particular things makes them this gives them this wholeness. Mm-hmm. But I would say, well, then why did you ever have this idea and have this love for this thing that was going to make you whole? Mm-hmm. But more so, it argues the larger question about that person's self. When do we get to the decision and that creation of self where you stop chasing the things that somewhat don't love you, or they're not built for the circumstance, not built for the time.
When you put your own happiness first. When you put your own happiness first. When you say to yourself, I'm not happy. But not happy in a superficial way, like, oh, if I go to this party, I'll be happy. No. Like when I wake up in the morning and I'm peaceful and my bills are paid this month, and my kids are all right, and what is missing in my life, and what is my dream? What is the bigger story? What is the thing that is right within reach, but I won't reach for it? Do you know what I mean? Like, everybody has that thing that they want, but they are afraid to jump at or chase it because it might seem far-fetched, or it might seem, get out of here, or it might feel like
The impossibilities.
yes.
So I think that process-wise, like, you're setting the stage saying, I see something that's right there. I have a fear, but there are other things that are just on their macro level or in their surface space or the horizontal space that they're chasing. But there's something that they can see in that point that becomes almost mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
How? Like, how do you? I know how. I mean, I'll say as an experience that there has to be a level of commitment. There has to be a level of personal sacrifice.
Yes.
There has to be a sacrifice of sometimes the death of old selves to be able to surrender the thing that is, I don't want to consider it pulling down, but it's an anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're born in spaces where we have very anchoring personalities. And it's hard when you have to let go of one that you created for safety,
Yes.
confidence.
Well, but that's the basis of, like, Boys in the Hood, right? Like like that's the basis for any movie, any coming of age kind of thing. What is any basketball, any kind of sports thing? What is the greater good? Sometimes, oftentimes, most times, there is a shedding of the old for the new. Sometimes you got to give up a lot to go for the very thing that you are destined to do.
I think, and I pause because I think that's hard for conversation. I actually just had it before we got here. Surrendering.
Oh yeah,
Vulnerability,
of course.
surrendering.
all the faiths
not
are
just
like
not
that.
just that, but we think more.
But the lessons of surrendering are deeply Abrahamic, right? Like everybody's always battling good versus evil, and if you just surrender, that's always the message. Like, people don't like to do it, but if you take that part out of it and just say, like, what do I have to give up in order to?
It's
shedding.
Use the word shedding.
What do I have to shed to get to the next level?
The first thing I thought about shedding in terms of the natural form of how snakes have to shed, or any other animal that has to relieve particular skins to find new spaces. What does it mean to shed one's skin? Which I think in a human form would be to relinquish one's identity, to move to a new space, to go into the unknown. Because the reality that I would say and argue with individuals that you're walking into a new space with an identity that's not unformed. Mm-hmm. You have a tool or a toolbox of things that could potentially support your past life. But what you shedded created room for this new dimension that you don't really have tools for in that new moment.
I think you do have the tools for it. I think you've been sharpening and honing the tools all along. You've just not tried them in this new reality. We see it all the time. We're always making decisions. A small decision like, I'm on this job and I want the next job.
Okay.
What do I need to do to get to the next job? Like what do I have to do to get that promotion? It's the same concept of shedding. So maybe you stay late a couple of nights a week at the office, or you come in a little bit early, or you take on some more duties that other people are not taking on, right? Maybe you don't go to happy hour every Friday with the posse, and you pick up a project, or do you know what I mean? Like it's all about surrendering and sacrifice, about how do I get to the next level, and what that looks like, and what am I committed to doing, and the discipline. Everything requires some discipline. I struggle with discipline all the time. I struggle with discipline. Everybody struggles with discipline. But then there comes a moment where you're like, you know what? I'm standing at the place where I want that thing. And it's so important to me that I'm willing and able to give up whatever this is that's keeping me from that next level. You know.
So we're in the car. We're trying to operate in discipline. We're not trying to pick up passengers that we shouldn't pick up. We should not take the right turns. But I think about the new me, or the old me, or the current me. But the larger question about me, the I, like let's think spiritually. In that particular walk, and when you're counseling individuals or having conversation with individuals, evaluating the quality of me becomes, and I say that as important to saying that even as like taking advice, receiving advice, finding individuals, like, have they found me enough that I need to listen? I mean, I listen to you because I feel like your me seems very centered at the time when I'm like, okay, I'm looking for me, and your me would seem centered. I was like, I want that level of confidence in my me so that I can have more self-directions. How does someone get to that me confidence to even aspire or drive the car, or make the decision, or even understand where the discipline needs to go?
I think you really just have to decide that I don't care what anybody thinks, because a lot of these decisions that we make are based on the choir of them.
Whew.
You know what I mean? The choir of them. Like, why do you want to do that? Oh, you can't do that. Oh, I wouldn't do that. Ooh, if I was you, I wouldn't do that. Or, oh, I don't know. I don't know anybody who does that. Are you sure you want to do that? Oh, everybody's doing that. Why do you want to jump in and do that?
What taught you that, though?
I think the desire to live a certain way on my own terms. That's really, really what it is. And hardship and adversity. You know, when you have to reinvent yourself from adversity and challenges, you gain some tougher skin. And then you just like, I'm going to live how I want to live, and I don't care who doesn't like it. So then you start to surround yourself with a choir that sings your praises as opposed to sings your demise.
But I okay. Now you hitting on something. You talk about this idea of like finding the choir, and I'll catch you on another point. It's finding the choir that sings your praises and also sings your demise. And I think in the process of finding me in the proper time, you meet. They always there. Like I feel like the choir never left. Whether I'm living in purpose, whether I'm undisciplined, there's always a choir of the yeses, and like, you should be doing X, Y, and Z. And I think that becomes a hard thing that individuals have to navigate through in terms of making a decision. Because you said the point of the callous, or not using the word callous, you said hardships, and hardships create moments where different identities need to be erected as a place of protection, which I would consider the representative is now that person that is kind of orchestrating and driving the ship, or the person or the face of the narrative. Recognizing the times that when all that needs to be stripped down, because the larger piece that I'm kind of trying to get to is that when individuals kind of understand their coping mechanisms because of life circumstances, whether they wanted the yeses or they wanted the nos, how do they come to the point of like the centerness of me as a process, but also as an identity? Like,
I think for me, once I decided to stand in vulnerability in all things, seriously, and that's no easy thing, because most people want to deflect and cool pose and not walk in truth. And I, before I can tell truth to anybody, I've got to always tell the truth to myself. I'm always telling the truth about myself. I don't have any illusions about my abilities, my behavior, and what I'm capable of. I don't stand on, well, I think I'm a nice person. I have the ability to kill somebody. Right? Like,
capable.
I'm capable.
I'm qualified.
I can do it. Am I? I hope not. But that's a truth telling. I don't pretend that I would never steal. I've stolen.
Yeah, I got you.
So I tell the truth. I walk in truth because I can't tell anybody a truth that I cannot tell myself first. And I stand in a vulnerable place, even if it's scary, even if it hurts, because that's the real existence, right? To just say how I feel. And people don't like it because it's quite uncomfortable to have the bright light of truth on you.
I'm looking at you like that's my auntie, but I say it in a true way that what you're saying, because you're so comfortable in doing it and practicing it, it's not a true reality of practice and habit for individuals.
I think it is. It's just like a muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it. It's just like anything, right?
But it's to the idea of someone that has to sit in their truth, because they have to contend with the capacity of whether it's shame, punishment, consequence. Yeah. Everyone kind of like, sometimes people are better at trying to find different ways of protecting the narrative that they know, the narrative they're comfortable with, and saying, well, what does truth freely allow them to be that? And that's the good and evil consequence of being able to sit within one's truth and be free, but also to just maintain a particular lie with other casualties. Because some folks just it becomes their social reality. It was like, that's not really who you are.
Well, if that's not who they are, that's who they are right now.
So that becomes the question about, if that's exactly who they are, if that's their me, I know we talk about process and change. What does it mean when someone finds that and that's on their plate? Like, I mean, when I say me, I think we have this more Disney fantasy of just like, okay, we just went through the tough storm. Like, what if you just jacked up? Like, and this is me. This is what I'm on. And so sitting in the mess, in the muck, I'm like, I would say that God didn't create a space where that's what it is, but that's the current reality.
I mean, I think you get to decide whether you want to stay in something. If you want to stay in muck and mire, you will stay in muck and mire. Because you get something out of complaining, you get something out of whining about it. Something is feeding that. You get some, being a victim or a martyr is almost the opposite sides of the same coin, almost. So, I mean, I always ask people when I meet people and the first thing they start with the whining of all the things of what's wrong with them or whatever, and I'm always like, okay, what is going on here? Like, what should I do in this? How am I hearing this person? How are they showing up? Because they seem to be stuck in a story, that story of why they can't X, Y, and Z. There's a story, why they didn't go back to school, why they didn't finish their degree, why they didn't leave this person, why they didn't get that promotion, why, Why?
So how do, in your opinion, in your experience with individuals, how do individuals choose their struggle and choose their exit?
I don't know if you could choose your struggle, but I think what you can do, I think you can decide whether or not if you want to struggle with something. I think you could decide that, because I think people think, oh, well, this is a struggle. This is my struggle. No. You can make a different decision on any given day about any given thing. You don't got to, if you have a job that is categorically demeaning and hard, then what should you do? Well, then you have to start thinking about, where else can I seek employment? That's not out of the realm of possibility. You can think about other alternatives to where you're working right now. It's going to require effort and work and a commitment of time and tenacity. But if it gets you out of that situation, then it's no longer the struggle. Once you have a plan about something, then it's no longer a struggle. The struggle is only because, what should I do? What should I do?
I think that, and I've worked through this, the idea of the metaphor of like the struggle as a weight. How do you learn how to lift or work through the weight or work through the workload, whether it be picking boxes up, whether today's workout is going to be squats or things I just don't want to. It's a struggle. It's a struggle that I'm working through, and I'm trying to figure out, have I learned enough in the process that I can exit? That's more.
Well, you know, Dr. DJ, you could.
You the first one that said that. I appreciate that. Sound good.
You could absolutely not do the squats.
You could, right?
But why are you doing the squat? Why are the reasons why you were doing the squats?
To get stronger legs.
Okay, so you no longer want stronger legs? Is that the?
No, I don't. I still want strong. So I think so. Even quantifying that, like I have very strong legs. It's figuring out when is it. So I've had in my experience that God would tell me when it's enough, because I'm on this hamster wheel. I'm in this particular space where it's now taken away. When things like, when they blow in the whistle and now you're done running, it's almost like it becomes an answer and a calling where the struggle's over in the season. I can't be naive to saying it's never going to show up again, but whenever a struggle came, it was more about endurance. That was this spiritual season of how long can you just sit in the fire? Can you sit in the mess? Because if I chose my exit, I thought that I just say for me personally, I'm quitting. I never felt comfortable.
That's funny that you say that, because you would never say that if you were actually sitting in a burning house.
Well, you gotta get up out there because it's too hot. So,
exactly.
But there's so I think that's a great point. There's so I think that's a great point, because in a burning house or just even if you just sit next, even if you put your hand over the stove, enough will tell you. Well, some other groups, but enough will tell you that the senses that are there will tell me that, hey, I can't tolerate this anymore. Versus times where it's not as apparent in your like when the pain is so monotone. It's not enough for you to. It's just enough to keep you there, like kind of like what they say, like you put a frog in the.
But see, that's my whole point of this is why you have to sort of get to know yourself, so that you don't get lost in the monotone, because I think
that's the danger zone.
I think that's an ignoring of a sensory when you don't pay attention, when it just feels, flatlined across. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you recognize that. That's the telling. You don't have to wait till it gets to DEFCON 12 to get up out of it.
I think that's the
day. You can do it when it's a whisper.
I think that you bring up that great point, and so I thought those are watching Dr. DJ podcast. I think that becomes important because it's sometimes hard for individuals to understand not their capacity of pain, but also how pain and struggle operate in certain ways where it's time to make the exit, because everyone understands their full tolerance, but when it's not enough, and
yes,
that like they're I know exactly. They're just not like, okay, like I'm comfortable. I'm like, this is. I'm not saying I aspire for more, but I'm like, well, this not
as bad.
But I'm like, but I'm taking my small doses, so I'm like, but I don't know enough not to, because it's like a red flag is a terrible analogy, because a red flag is a moment, but when we'll talk about red flags in relationships, ignoring and running by them, they still stay. Because really it was just a sign that, okay, I just took notice, because it wasn't a physical pain. But if I cut you right now, Okay, now I'm okay. The house is on fire. Now this is a very direct sign.
So do we run out of the house when we just see the smoke, or do we wait till the house is engulfed?
You gotta see
in
fire.
flames?
Like you gotta actually see fire.
See, I'm not that person. I don't have to see fire anymore. I can go just at the first hint of smoke. Because I've trained myself to understand that I don't want to be engulfed in flames. Like pain and struggle is not my birthright.
Ooh, I'm gonna give you
It's
an
just
example.
not.
I got a dope example. So I think so. You know, we got the kids. We got the beautiful Eva and Jaden. But also I think about the human condition, human capacity, where part of the human is when we're having this conversation about trying to evaluate pain and one's capacity, but also in how we understand the sacrifice that's necessary. I'll give the larger example of we're talking about the burning house coming down, house, black smoke, fire. Hey, but I see my child on the stair. And the stair ain't the stair there or whatever it may be there. We going up. I gotta try. And I think part of that is part of the human condition, where there's a sacrifice that needs to be made in hopes of coming to the other side and being made new, stronger. It's slightly different in analogy, but we can see there are moments in the human condition where the human condition will sacrifice itself outside of its own tolerance. This is the what I would say the transformative new me that happened by circumstance. It had to happen.
I mean, listen. I mean, a great example of that is the enslavement of people from Africa to this country, right? And the endurance of those people for 400 and some odd years, right? The endurance of that.
Which part are you defining as the endurance? Because I would say the endurance would have been like
all of it, from the very moment that they were snatched to the moment that they landed on these shores and the time that they spent. And now listen, and they would have, white folks would have you believe that there was no resistance. There was resistance.
There you go. That's what I was saying.
There's resistance every step of the way. That these people knew that this is not what they wanted for their lives. So every moment was building upon how we going to get free for 400 years.
Can we say revolting against the conditioning and revolting against the natural me?
I don't.
I only give an example because I'm like, I don't know what that feels like, but I just understand the ideas like, this ain't it. I know that's not it, but it's like, I don't imagine that folks are just like, oh, this is like, I'm on my endurance track or treadmill. It's like, no, there were large revolts. There were ideas of just deprivation that were happening with individuals. I can't. When can I regain myself?
I think you have to decide that. No one can come in and give you redemption or any of that. You have to step out. You have to step out and say, this is the path that I want to go, and then everything else around it is either going to serve that and pave that, or it's going to be a barrier and a hindrance to that. And you have to look out and say, where are the barriers and where are the paths? And, some barriers you can scale and kick through. Some barriers, it's like the movie The Wizard of Oz when they get to the poppy fields.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they're having a good time in the poppy fields because the poppies.
Which version are you talking about right now?
Either one of them.
Okay, I got
it's
you.
all a drug. It's all a drug, and they feel good until somebody says, "This is not our plan.
Mm-hmm.
We got a real plan over here. We got to get out of here." There are some people who are just going to be lost in the poppy fields because it feels good, and to do anything other than that is scary. It might be hard. And I'm not sure if everybody's cut out to do the hard things. I'm not sure if everybody's cut out to walk in truth. I'm not sure that everybody can be vulnerable and make life-changing decisions. I'm not sure. No, I think because they are forces that work against us all the time. Some people can swim upstream and some people drown. I don't know why some people can't achieve. I think about this all the time. I don't know why I'm not a drug addict. I think you can
talk about that. Like, I think you can explain that.
I think I could absolutely be a drug addict. I just don't. I'm just not. I don't understand why I'm not. Because of the way I've grown up and the bad things that have happened to me, I'm at a loss as to why I'm not a drug addict.
I think I think when we started this conversation about chasing,
and I'm not better. You know what I mean? I'm not better than the
I think it goes hand in hand. Where I think, like, even Aaron was on last week from The Breed. He talks as example of, like, I'm not better, but you are different. We're all different. Like, there's no dollar is the same, no day is the same, no grass, I got it, but no one's the same. And I have to give credit to my creator because we're not the same. Maybe my inspiration was to do something to get that person for that, but the choice, like, you have, like, having a certain sensitivity in one's, even in one's palate, saying, like, this is not gonna stick. Like, it's just not. My addiction may be potato salad. I don't know. Like, it's what it is. Like, and I'm just an addict for it. So, but the reality is, like, I just don't have the capacity for where I'm seeing someone else or I'm seeing my fellow individual. I'm like, why are you so stuck on this thing? Mm-hmm. You don't need to be. And I think that becomes that kind of that consideration about our difference, about my me. Why is my me different? Mm. And I've done a lot of work just humbling myself, just saying, I'm not better, I'm just different. But in my me journey, the process that I can extract is something that someone else can easily inhabit.
Yeah.
You can have my pathway to me. Mm-hmm. We just can't be the same thing when we come out of this. Mm. But what I really wanted to say was, I wanted to talk about in this self-discovery of finding oneself, what is it like for you to continually chase chase the me? What does that look like?
I love it now. I mean, I'm 60 years old now. And I live on my own terms. Absolutely, categorically live on my own terms. And I don't, when I was a young person, I was corporate climbing and then working in nonprofits and all kinds of stuff. And I was very concerned about getting ahead, getting to something. I don't have that idea anymore. And I'm not wooed by so-called trappings of success. Do you know what I mean? Like, my joy is not found in a fancy car or Manolo Blahniks or. Now, don't get me wrong.
What's that?
Manolo Blahniks are, shoes.
Okay, there you go. I'm not trapped. I'm not trapped anywhere next to success.
Or jewelry, although I love jewelry, but it's not. I'm not driven by those things. I can appreciate all those things without feeling less than because I don't have them. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a desire to live a Beyonce lifestyle. First of all, I don't have Beyonce talent, but I don't. I'm not in that space of, if I don't have these trappings, I'm nobody or I'm nothing. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not a simple lived person. Do you know what I mean? Like, I like nice things.
When you said it's not the life about the Beyonce, or there's certain things that I just don't know that are just not part of my language. Like, there's certain clothes that that I know folks would consider high fashion or anything else. But, like, my internal me has gotten to a point where I do believe that I have everything that I'm supposed to have. At least in this particular season. And one of the things that taught me that was the process of stewarding over the things that I have now.
I like like that. I always use that word stewarding too.
I have a house, and this was the worst feeling. Like, how many Stop and Shop bags do you have in your house? So now it's like, I'm like, now they try. I went into a closet, and there were bags of bags inside bags. And there were 4 bags lined up with bags inside of bags. And it's not hoarding, but you're trying to be, it's like, I'm not going to have this many groceries.
Ever.
And I don't think the store's going to buy it back, but I have all this stuff. But the problem that I was having in terms of the me, I was having problems finding the thing that I wanted because these things were just in the way. Like, I was just like, it contributes to the conversation about this path of finding me, or the process of finding me and acquiring different. I'm just not able to find, like, I couldn't find the thing that I was looking for. And I had to actually sit down, reflect, clean house, to be able to find the thing that I desired. And in the process, I had to get rid of all the things that were in the way, so that now this streamlined thing where I'm like, if I just came in here looking for like toothpaste, and I'm in a pantry closet and it's just bags of bags, but I can't find toothpaste. I'm like, I'm using it as a metaphor. It was like, and it was actually, there were a lot of bags in there. And I'm like, what am I doing with this? And it's getting in the way of me just being efficient at being me, whether I've spent the time, did the therapy, had the conversations, and now I really figure out me. I understand the efficient portions of me and where it needs to go, where it doesn't need to go. And now these are now distractions that are in the way of me being the most efficient me that I need to be. My house was this cluttered space of, you look like, even looking for that particular shirt. It's like, yo, you got too much stuff. Why don't you just have like a couple sweaters? Because I'm having a moment like I'm inefficient, and not I'm a super perfectionist, but the desire to be me in my physical self became difficult, because now I was more of an agitated version. So like now I'm just evaluating, and now when you get to that realization of it becomes frustrating when you know you're slightly out of line of you.
I mean, I think you say that from a place that you've already done some of this grounding work, right? So when you do some of that grounding work, I think it becomes easier to start to discerning and being contemplative about, the things that you want in your life and the things that you don't want in your life. Like, you can clearly see those things, even though sometimes we try to negotiate.
Yes, I'm always.
We always trying to negotiate foolishness. It's like, well,
I didn't do it too much. Just one time, just.
Oh, he's not that bad. I mean, he's whatever. I don't have those negotiation kind of dialogues with myself anymore. I'm pretty very clear, because I was just stand there and be like, okay, what is the truth here? what is the truth? Not my truth, their truth, anybody's truth, God's truth. What is the truth right here? And then really be willing to sort of see what that is. Because sometimes the truth is I'm being a fool, or I'm being ridiculous, or I'm being, obstinate, or I'm being, incorrigible, or I'm being used. Whatever the truth is. And I think you got to be willing to see the truth in all things.
I'm going to steal that and take that, because I think that I have to be honest, that being able to accept the truth, no matter what it looks like, it's not. And I say that as someone that does the emotional male work, where it's like, oh yeah, now I know what my feelings are. I understand my feelings. Got it. Like, now I know how to deal with this. Oh yeah, now I'm able to sit in all this full scale of emotions that I have, and now I have to be truthful with myself about like unpacking the whys of the me in the process, and decide how to move forward with those different aspects of the me's, and understand the context that these things carry sometimes particular emotional anchors that sometimes I don't want to revisit or don't want to feel or know that if I have to deal with this, it will feel this. And I'm like,
not again. Oh.
and I think that's the part of this journey of the me where it's like, sometimes there's things that you want to shut off, but knowing that this is running to the house, I have to for the next stage to happen.
Yeah. I mean, because you could be, you've seen it. People can be content in foolishness. I mean, people can be really content in foolishness and deceit and lies. And I don't mean deceit and lies like the stuff that they tell themselves. Not so much what they tell other people, but themselves, and people can live in that state of being for a lot of their lives if they don't do the work, if they don't say, you know what, I feel terrible, or I'm treating someone terribly, or I'm acting terribly, or I don't like feeling like this, or I don't want to make anybody else feel this way, or whatever, or I'm a liar, or I'm deceitful, or whatever it is, whatever the not walking in truth is. People can live in that kind of state for a very long time. I mean, people who are, we all know people who don't walk in truth. And I don't mean that in a righteous way. I don't mean that.
No, it's more. It's not. Yeah.
Slap somebody with some verses or something. I'm just saying, they're not being their authentic selves. They're not being truthful.
I think you've always done a great job of being your authentic self. And
I don't think I wasn't always, but I've
known you in the form of that.
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm old, but I'm committed to this life now. Like, I'm committed to my own authenticity and my own safe harbor. I'm committed to that.
I like Doc and Education.
Yeah.
So if you had to give advice, since as we're closing out, if you had to give advice, not just for the new year, well, you could just give you can give a new year, just for our larger New Haven landscape, as advice, and just if you could just give advice to our larger New Haven landscape, addressing just like what are some better truths that we could live in?
Oh, I would say to people, and I say this to people, to spend some time with yourself and be and tell the truth to yourself. Even if you don't tell it to anybody else, just tell yourself the truth about who you are. And that could be anything from, I know I'm overweight, so what am I going to do about that? I can't pretend that I'm not overweight. I'm overweight. Mm-hmm. So the truth is, I'm overweight. Mm-hmm. Start there. Mm-hmm. Or the truth is, I have a lot of debt. I don't have a lot of debt, but I'm just saying, if you have a lot of debt, tell the truth about it.
Get busy.
Just say, you know what? I have a lot of debt, and start there. Don't say, I have a lot of debt, and by 6 months, just say, you know what? Let me acknowledge I have a lot of debt. I've been unfaithful. Start there. I'm being unfaithful to whoever. Start there, and then, okay, this is the truth. And then you can figure out the next steps. Once you start telling the initial truth of whatever the situation is, then a path will start to open. I believe that. I have lived that. I live that. Start with telling the truth to yourself. Don't worry about telling other people's truth or pointing at other people and telling people what to do and what they think. Start with your own self. Tell your own self the truth. And then really, really, really get to a place of vulnerability. Take down all the barriers. I'm a fan of the book called A Course in Miracles, and in it says, your job is not to seek love. Your job is to remove all the barriers to love. And I live by that. So I'm not chasing love. I was like, let me make sure I clear all the deck so that when love is here, I am love. Let's clear all the deck so that there's no barriers. Just, your job is to remove the barriers. Remove the
Right.
barriers. That's what I would say. It's not a lot. It's not. I don't know if this is earth shattering, but
So long story short, you said I'm gonna find love.
I mean, you already found love.
Got you.
You already love you. You're already in love. You're
There
already
you go.
loved.
There you go. I love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. So I want to give you the chance to give all your handles and the spaces that folks can find you, and I hope to be on your amazing show.
That's right. I'm gonna have you on. We gotta talk more. We gotta continue this conversation.
Love talk.
Listen, I'm on every day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 on 103.5, and we live stream on New Haven Independent across all our social media: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever else my producer Harry has me. And then you can pick up the Inner City every week. It's out on the streets every week. I think it's in the streets now. It's what, Thursday? So yeah, you could go pick it up around town. It's still going. So
That's amazing. So this is the Dr. DJ podcast. We are closing with our amazing guest, Love Babz, Love Talk. Please check all the handles. And with that, we are out.
that was fun.